Okay, if you look at modern young Muslims nowadays, I guarantee you they're going to be doing at least one of these five bad habits. And honestly, I do too, I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, because these bad habits are so ingrained into today's society, you're going to see everybody doing them. But because they're destructive, I want to warn you about them and actually show you the dangers of these bad habits. And one crucial thing I want you to understand is that it's not only haram things that are going to destroy your iman and really hurt you as a Muslim. In a lot of cases, it's permissible things that are not necessarily haram and are technically halal. The reason why is because haram things are not the only thing that have an effect on your iman. I mean, obviously sins like zina, gambling, whatever else are going to lower your iman, but so is other, permissible things like maybe overusing social media. That's where a lot of young Muslims especially fail because they might be avoiding the major sins and they're good in that department, but their iman is still low and they might ask themselves why. The answer is because they're doing permissible things and they're overindulging in them. So anyway, here are the 5 habits you must avoid, especially if you're a young Muslim. The first one, as I said in the intro, is overusing social media. And I guarantee you, either you or a person you know is doing this. Everyone has TikTok nowadays, everyone has social media and YouTube, and they're binging on it, and most people are wasting their lives away at this. Now, just the fact that this wastes so much of your day and so much of your time should be enough to warn you away from it. Because imagine how much time you wasted throughout your life, maybe playing video games or wasting your time on social media or watching YouTube videos. Imagine if you spent that time doing anything productive. You could have been way more successful than you are now. But it's not just a time-wasting aspect that makes it super dangerous. As I mentioned before, it's the iman-reducing effect it has. Now, if you ever, went on a big YouTube binge, maybe 2-3 hours where you just did nothing, you had time to kill, so you might as well just watch YouTube. You understand that at the end, you don't feel like doing anything, and the worst part is, you don't feel like you have a connection with Allah, right? You feel like your iman is low. And unfortunately, this is the exact effect that, going on a YouTube binge or binging on social media has on your heart. It makes you not receptive to Allah. And the reason why is because your heart is kind of a vessel, and it can only hold so much of what you put in it. So if you put in, YouTube and basically things that don't matter in your life and things that are distracting you, then you're going to be filled up with that, and you're not going to have space for the remembrance of Allah. And so your iman is naturally just going to be lower. Compare that to the person who fills it up with the remembrance of Allah. Their iman is going to be super high, and the crazy thing is, they're not even going to desire watching YouTube videos. Unlike you, who probably desires or keeps falling into binging on YouTube videos. So if you're a Muslim, I highly advise you to stop with the social media overuse, stop with TikTok, stop with Instagram. And a tip that I would give you is fill your time with actually productive things. So maybe have a schedule or at least have habits that you do at certain times. Maybe you exercise during a certain time every single day, or you do work right after you wake up or right after Fajr. And that way, for that time, you're not going to be, confused on what to do. So you're not going to fall into the habit of watching YouTube. The second habit is very similar to the first one. And you might not like what I'm about to say, but it is playing video games. And it has a very similar effect to social media overuse on your heart and your iman. But playing video games has a kind of special effect on your mind and heart. See, anyone who played video games understands that even if you play for 30 minutes or an hour, that's not the only time that your brain is going to spend thinking about the game. Your brain's probably going to spend the whole day thinking about it, or at least a couple hours after playing, just thinking about the game. And a lot of times, it's not just time that you're wasting, but it's brain power, right? It's thinking. Because think about the most successful people and the most maybe righteous people. They're not spending their time thinking about video games or YouTube or whatever else. They're thinking about important stuff. They're thinking about how to improve their business, how to increase their iman, and things that actually matter in life. So the reason why video games are especially dangerous is because they hijack your thoughts and they make you think about things that are not really beneficial to you. So you might not like it, it might be difficult, but I truly think that your life would be so much better if you quit video games. Now the third habit is sleeping after Fajr. Now I'm not going to lie, this is something that I'm a culprit of a lot. And honestly, it's just because of laziness and lack of discipline. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that the time after Fajr is the most beneficial to do work. So maybe it's your business, working on whatever it is, or memorization, basically progressing towards your goals. So he told us not to sleep during this time because you're wasting a time with so much barakah and so much benefit to it. In my opinion, the best productivity thing you could ever do for yourself is just wake up early and work on the hardest thing as soon as possible after waking up. So work on the hardest task of your entire day. Maybe for you, that's memorizing the Quran. maybe for you that's working on your business, but whatever it is for you. Honestly, this is something that I struggle with again, but I feel like you just need to discipline it out and really also, of course, wake up early and all those things. But sometimes you just need to wake up even when you don't feel like it and get that work done. The fourth habit is eating bad food. Now, this is something that a lot of people, you might not expect. But the reality is eating junk food, eating bad food has such a horrible effect on your mind and even your iman, which is something surprising because you usually don't hear this. But when you eat bad food, so when I say bad food, I'm talking about like processed food, junk food, you probably already know what comes to mind. What happens is it kind of ruins your mind because you become lazy and you have brain fog. I'm sure you had those moments where you just feel like you don't even know how to think clearly and you probably can't even read a few sentences of a book without your mind wandering. A lot of times that's caused by just the food that you eat. Usually it's junk food and processed food. So what I would recommend, it seems kind of unrelated, but if you want to increase your iman and especially if you want to improve your productivity, then you have to cut out the bad food. Now again, Allah gave you your body and your body is a gift. So you have to eat good food and eat healthy to actually treat your body well. It's a sign of gratitude to Allah because you're treating your body well, which is a gift from Allah. Now the fifth habit, and this one again might make a lot of people angry like the video game one, but it is listening to music. Now I'm not here to debate whether music is halal or haram, because in my opinion, it's very clearly haram. And even if you believe it's halal, there's so little benefit to it and there's a lot of problems with it. I can make a whole nother video about this because honestly, it is an extensive topic. But basically, music will ruin your iman and first of all, it ruins your attention span, right? Because it's quick dopamine. But the worst part is you're kind of feeding someone else's thoughts into your brain. That's literally what's happening when you're listening to someone else's lyrics. You're listening to them talk about themselves. Now imagine what that does to your brain. Now what you'll notice with people who listen to music is they usually can't control their thoughts. And that's a really problematic thing to have because for discipline, for iman, controlling your thoughts is super important, and especially for productivity as well, right? Most successful people understand that you need to be able to control your mind and control your thoughts. And music strips that away from you, basically. So you might not agree with me, but I feel like you should just take my advice and stop listening to music. Because, just look at the benefits, right? The benefit is just some quick dopamine. There's not really anything to it. But there's a lot of drawbacks. And honestly, maybe if you don't believe me, just spend 1 week without listening to any music at all and see what happens in your life. I guarantee you're going to find your life is going to be better and your mind's going to be sharper. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have. Avoid these 5 habits and, make dua to Allah constantly. That's pretty much all I have to say. Assalamu alaikum.